No, please, stop, I'm sorry!
Huh,
No,
get my ass kicked
please,
too? No
stop, I'm
thanks.
sorry! No,
It's not my
please,
problem.
please.
I don't even know him.
Stop, please!
I'll see you at school, punk!
Do you think if an average MCI student sees something going on, like bullying or hazing or something wrong, do you think he would tell someone or speak out about it to an authoritative figure like you?
My hope is that people would. I know that doesn't always happen. I think that's something that we have to work towards. So if you see something that is not right, it should be your responsibility as a member of this school, of this community, to do something about it, right?
Why they're not calling is ultimately this idea of fear and they're not standing up for themselves.
I want to get involved. That's another thing. Like it seems like you want to just laugh along with everybody else. You don't want to be the one person who's kind of like being weird, taking it seriously when everyone else is taking it as a joke.
Well, in your experience with your kids that you teach, do you find that they are afraid to actually come to you and confront you about their...
I don't know if it's afraid so much as they're just not comfortable doing it. Bullying involves a lot of shaming, and a lot of people don't want to admit that it's happening. So I think a lot of times you find students don't want to say something, or if they're afraid, it's because they're afraid it's going to get back and they don't want something done about it. They're afraid the bullying is going to get worse. So fear possibly, but also embarrassment, because people are embarrassed to admit that they've been violated in this way.
Have you ever been bullied before?
Yes, I have.
Do you ever tell teachers or other people about what's happening to you?
Not really. Yeah, I just don't want to make situations worse.
So you think adults, if you tell an adult, it'll make the situation worse?
It might, because they might, after school, try to take over, just not in the class, but there could be situations outside where I can still get bullied by them.
Why do you think people don't speak up?
I think it's more of a fear that you're gonna get made fun of too, right? Especially like if you're not a well-spoken person or you're not outspoken, people who are shy I feel like they would definitely not do anything about it, because if they can't stand up for themselves, how are they supposed to stand up for other people?
We were getting why people didn't want to speak up. They were scared, they didn't want to get involved, but why weren't they willing to approach adults? That's what we wanted to explore next.
What are your thoughts on the snitching culture? Like, in our generation, maybe back when you were in high school too, like, snitching in general.
I think that snitching it's a terrible word. I mean, but it is what it is, right? I think that students are afraid to report because they don't want to get in trouble. They don't want to be the next target of the situation. And as much as all of us when we were younger, and yourselves as young people, you're saying, okay, well, everyone wants to be independent. They want to be individual. But they also want to fit in. And if that means just sort of staying under the radar, then that's what they're going to do. Well, it's not that I'm snitching, but it's because I care about this other person, right?
Well, if I tell it to them, that means there is a reason why they're bullying.
So you feel if you do tell on them, that would give them a reason to bully you even more?
They would have a high reason. Then more people will get involved because now other people know.
So you feel if you were to tell or speak up, there would be more people after you?
Most likely.
Most likely?
Yeah.
SpongeBob.
Mrs. Puff, can I be in a different class?
But why?
I can't tell you.
Why ever not?
I just can't, Mrs. Puff.
My physical being is at stake. Let's just leave it at that.
SpongeBob, you can tell me anything. You've got to believe that.
Well, okay, but only if you promise to keep it between us.
Of course.
Flat says he's gonna kick my butt.
What? There shall be no butt kicking in any class of mine. This is an adult program. SpongeBob, just leave it to me.
Aw, thanks, Mrs. Puff. I knew I could count on you.
Have a nice lunch, SpongeBob.
Yes, Mrs. Puff.
Psst, SpongeBob, I talked to Flats for you. I used your name. It was all a misunderstanding. You what? He was never going to kick your butt at all. You see, SpongeBob, Flats is from a town where kicking someone's butt means that he wants to be your friend.
Anybody that gets bullied needs to tell an adult. I know I said that it didn't really help, but it's because I told my school teachers, and they just always want to make us talk. And that doesn't help.
And if I tell the principal, then I have to go through a lot to not just them. I have to tell them what happened and then what's the evidence and all this and that. And
So you think there's not enough evidence, or?
So you think the system you have to go through to like solve this problem is worse than like actually coping with the problem yourself?
I guess.
I'm here with Ashok Mohanraj, an average grade 9 rep, and we're going to look for some answers.
If you were witnessing an individual being bothered or bullied by an older individual, would you speak up?
It depends on how old. If they were in grade 12, I doubt I would speak up, but maybe grade 10, I would probably stand up.
Why? Why can't you speak up to that grade 12?
Because maybe then in the future they'll probably threaten me again and come back and then probably ask why I stood up for them and then threaten me.
But it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, you're saying that I'd stand up to the grade 10, who I likely have 3 more years with at this school, but the grade 12 was going to leave in a few short months, or this coming up here. You wouldn't? You wouldn't stand up against?
Just natural reaction. They look bigger, they look scarier. Grade 10s aren't as intimidating. Student.
An average situation of a grade 12 tormenting a little grade 9, do you feel like your grade would most likely not?
Yes, we would fail.
You would fail this duty, yes. So, are you aware of the issue that recently happened of Wit in the washroom? And
Yeah,
grade 9.
I'm ashamed to know about this. Yes, he's one of my
Oh, he's one
close
of your
friends.
What's like the biggest shock of what happened to him?
That no one stood up.
We will now take a venture on inside to get a feel of how a young grade 9 student feels being initiated by usually multiple students in an older grade. Come with me.
Oh wow. Yeah. Wow. This is it. Where should we start?
Well, I just want to say for starters, there is no door on this place. Everything in this small confined room is echoed and it becomes louder as it goes out of a non-doored room. The sounds are very easy to hear from outside.
And I just wanted to point out, if you could just look at the floor. I'm just going to take a couple steps. Alright, here we go. 1, 2, 3. That's 3 general steps. 5 people were in this washroom. 3 grade 11s, 2 grade 9s. 5 people were in this washroom. It's got to be a crowd.
They're making so much ruckus, they're making so much noise. You know what? The 5 people making noise, I think we need to do a bit of an experiment. So I'm going to go outside with the camera and we're going to have my man Abdullah over here scream and say help. And we're going to see how far I can get to when I'm not able to hear him. So let's start. The first scream. Okay, come on, Raisa. Okay, Abdullah, let's begin.
Stop it, dude. It's not cool.
I can still hear him. Now I'll take 5 steps back.
What are you doing?
I can still hear him. I'm gonna go even further.
Stop it!
I can still... We're at the end of the hallway and we are able to hear.
This experiment showed us that anyone who was at the hallway at the time of the initiation can't deny that they didn't hear it. They simply chose to ignore it. People do hear. They choose not to speak up.
Since I got to high school, then I started taking action a little bit, like telling the teacher and like, trying to stay away from the people who believe.
This idea that maybe there's low self-confidence. I don't know what it is, right? That we've given the power to a few people and we refuse to take it back. I mean, if 1,000 people in this building stood up to the 10 to 20 that are doing all the bad stuff, they would be overpowered in an hour. But no one does it because it's none of their business. That perfect world, that fairy tale world, it doesn't exist. I don't know. It's like there's no that perfect world, that fairy tale world. It doesn't exist.